The moment has arrived.
I pushed the button. It's going to work.
This is going to be scary good, man.
I'm sorry?
We're killing it. It's Maddie Levine with my good friend Dave Van Auken. Welcome to the Fight Banana Show.
The ruthless one, Elle Dawson.
Hey, guys.
Our girl, Gillian, the savage Robertson.
What's up? How you guys doing?
Welcome to the Fight Bananas Show. 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern, only on Fight Bananas.
What's up, guys? The red light is on. Dave Van Auken, Fight Bananas Show. Elle Dawson will be joining soon, but our first guest is in that green room. Always love talking to him. It was great to commentate a little Game Bred Bare Knuckle back in the day. Hopefully, we'll get on those hot mics very soon. The one, the only, Brendan Schaub. Brendan, what's up, brother?
What's going on, pal? Yeah, man. Hopefully we got a Game Bred coming up. That was so much fun, man.
Yeah, I like that. And I don't know if you're more, if we had more fun commentating or more fun going to Mary Mahoney's, but I don't know which one, you know?
Oh, dude, Mahoney is tough to beat. We did fan questions on Firing the Kid. I think it comes out this week because we're in the transition moving to Austin, right? So we have to bank some episodes. So we banked one of fan questions. One of the fan questions was if you're on death row, your last meal, and mine was Mahoney's by far.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I'm with you. The lethal injection, Mahoney's, then the lethal injection. Give it to us. I'm with you, brother.
Give it to me. Dude, that's my favorite restaurant of all time in Biloxi, Mississippi, dude.
It's crazy life, man. All right, so much to get into. UFC 314. We saw the Patty Pimblett show take over Miami, Florida. Volkanovski, is he the greatest featherweight of all time? So much. And before, though, you know this, baseball dads and happy wife, happy life stuff. So before I say anything else about fighting, my wife wanted to ask you. She's like, hey, when is my man Brendan? When is Jerry O'Connell? When is Bravo? When is this happening again? She was a massive fan, brother. When is this happening?
Man, I'll tell you what, that show is Jerry O'Connell, me, I forget the other, Michael Yo, one of the old VJs from MTV. We had that show where we broke down, it's ridiculous to say, but we broke down Real Housewives of all the cities.
Yeah.
And we had Kelly Rippon, all these big stars, and they shot like 5 episodes in New York. But it came out right around the Me Too movement, like right when that was hot. So Bravo was like, bro, we can't have a panel of 4 dudes breaking down a female show. So it was just bad timing, man. You know, that's all it was.
I know. It's I thought it was classic. It's so funny. Like I said, my brother, massive fan of yours. I saw you long ago. He brings you up all the time. And my wife, same thing. She doesn't care any of this fight world. She's like, wait, I know Brendan. He was on Bravo. Like that's how she knows you, It's crazy.
Dude, I was on Bravo for a hot second doing the pre and post shows for like the Grammys, the Oscars, all that stuff, man. And I knew my time was coming to an end because, they brought me on and these celebrities, they look ridiculous and they're walking the red carpet and we're live, dude. And I'm just lighting these dudes. I'm lighting the guys up. I'm lighting the girls up, just having fun, like roasting them. Because at the time also I was doing King the Sting with Theo Vaughn, which was an all roast show. So that was like my pattern. I was just like roasting people every Tuesday, Thursday. And I got on E, and when you roast, who was it? It was like Little Zany X, where the hell those guys are, and he was just like sad, and I just like lit him up, and then the producer in my ear like, dude, you gotta back off. I'm like, I can't, and then Lady Gaga walks down the aisle, and she has like 14 people holding her dress. I'm making fun of her, and at the end, the producer was just like, I think we're good, man. I think we're good. I was like, oh, I won't be back. And yeah.
Dude, you know how many, Brendan, I swear to you, I got so many messages about our commentary together. And they're like, I've never heard anything like it. It was almost a half, comedian show up there. We remember we were talking about the music, people coming in, 10, 9, and 8 people in the music. But honestly, I loved it. And I heard, from the bosses above, they loved it. And it was different. It was us, right? It wasn't just the vanilla and that you hear other stuff. But like I said,
but you know what it is like with all that stuff. Like I've worked with so many people, but when it comes to that commentary team, the reason why Rogan, Anik, and DC are by far the best, like bar none, hands down, the best of all time, is because there's chemistry there and they're friends. So you and I didn't. We knew each other, but we haven't worked together. So I was getting nervous because if you don't like gel with somebody, Then I'll just go into the X's and O's, and it's gonna be pretty boring. But if I feel comfortable where I can mess around and get kind of silly and know you're gonna cover your bases, dude, then we're cooking. We're cooking, dude. So I had so much fun, man. I had so much damn fun.
Yeah. Likewise. You remember you cooked my watch. I remember that to this day, brother. Cooked it.
I do. I owe you a watch, man. I told you. I said I gotta get you a new watch, dude. I owe you a watch, bro. I owe you a watch. I got it, man.
Gotcha. All right. Let's get into it. UFC 314. Of course, I listened to your stuff. I watched it this morning, so a lot of it I know, but a lot of it I want to bring to the Fight Bananas crew here. I know Volkanovski won the championship. Reclaimed featherweight Godinez if you want to, and won the main event. Still, with that being said, it was the Paddy Pimblett show. Paddy Pimblett stole the show all week, and we've talked about it off air too. I see all the analytics of everything we do in Fight Bananas. Paddy Pimblett 4-1 Alexander Volkanovski all week long. It was his week, his show. Even with getting the stoppage on Michael Chandler, I thought Paddy Pimblett stole the show. What do you think, and what's next for Paddy?
Yeah, I think no matter who you have on, unless it's like a Conor McGregor type, Paddy's going to steal the show. So, Tom Aspinall is a big name over there in England, and people think he's the face of kind of Europe right now, and I disagree. There's no one for him to fight. Even if he fights John Jones, after that, it's kind of there's no one for him to fight. So I think Paddy's that guy. And right now with the UFC, they need stars, man. You're in the same business as I am. So it's like across the board, views and ratings are down, man. Because there's not that it factor where the casual fans are tuning in. The hardcores, they know exactly
they got us. They got us.
They're never leaving.
Right.
But in order to get those massive views, in order to get those crossovers, you got to have stars. And UFC has a real star problem right now. Paddy's that guy. I've interviewed everybody in the freaking world, and there's, Conor's a different animal. But take Conor out of this. When it comes to just, especially the current UFC roster, Paddy, I'm telling you, man, is a freaking superstar. This dude, when I interviewed him, he was probably 230 pounds. Fatty Paddy. And he's a guy that even at that size, he just commands the room. He's so goddamn talented, man. He's so talented.
I couldn't agree more. With that being said,
not to mention, he has his haters. That's what you want.
You need that.
Conor has that. John has it. All the stars has that. I don't know a lot of hate on Aspinall, and that's probably why he's not as big a star as he is, because he's such a good person.
Great point.
But you want people to care. They're tuning in whether you lose or whether you win. It's a Floyd Mayweather effect. For Paddy, it's like you're on this climb with him. It's my favorite part of mixed martial arts. I think it's the best part of sports when you have a prospect and they're on this climb. And for Paddy, it's like the UFC's doing it right. They learned from their mistakes with Darren Till. They've learned from their mistakes with Sage Northcutt. So they're slowly building him up, and he's passing the test. And the naysayers he won't beat Bobby Green. He won't beat the King. And then he smokes him. Like, all right, well, he beat him. And then they go, he's an older guy. He loses all the time. Like, okay, here's Michael Chandler. Now he's a top 10 guy. He won't beat him. Dude, that wasn't even a competition. He beat the brakes off Charlie O. He beat the brakes off Michael Chandler way worse than Charlie O did. Way worse. So to me, I love when guys are passing these tests. If you remember, same thing with Conor McGregor. Same freaking thing. People are like, he won't beat this guy. Aldo got his number. Chad Mendes can wrestle. And he's
right. Mendes, yeah.
So it was always this. It was always this, he can't do it. He can't do it. Paddy's that guy, man. People need to get on board.
People forget, Brendan, I say this all the time. Everyone's like, Conor was gifted this, golden road to the title. He defeated Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway on the road. People forget that. They weren't those men then, but fight level they were. It was crazy time.
Not to mention Chad Mendes on short notice and had a torn meniscus and got taken down. Lost that first round, kept getting taken down. And people are like, this is the one. They knocked homeboy out. No, you can't take it from. Listen, Conor has his issues now, but no.
It's wild. Like I said, I always listen to your stuff, always watch your stuff. And I know for us too, like you said, we're in, the business of watching, clicking and posting. Conor's always great for that. But I for the last 6 months, I think ever since the Chandler, and then a little bit even after that, I thought, but everything he's doing over there in bare knuckle, I'm like, this guy's never coming back, Brendan. He's never coming back. He's going to be president, I think. He's never coming back to us. I don't think he is, ever.
I know, and I can't tell if my bias is like hanging on to that, but I also think there's a chance, and Patty's that guy that I think you would take the chance on. Now the plan was for him to fight an older Michael Chandler like Patty did, right? And Chandler wasted 2 years of his prime in that, or whatever he had left of his prime, wasted waiting around for Conor because that's the big payday. So that's how that was supposed to go. And Conor probably beats that Chandler that showed up last Saturday night.
Yeah, I agree.
But now there's a glitch in the video game. You got this Paddy Pimblett in there, and Paddy's this guy where, even the fans do this. They're not giving Paddy credit. So I think for Conor, he goes, hold up. This is the new kid. This is the one everybody's ranting and raving about. I can beat that guy. And he probably can't. He's in for a real surprise. But I think that type of personality will get Conor to maybe get his shit together and fight him. I'm hoping. I've been saying this for 2 years, dude. I'm hoping. I don't know.
Yeah. It'll be the biggest fight in the game for sure. A couple little things off the UFC, and we'll get right back in there. And I know you got to run in a little bit. You got another show to do. Everything that you do outside, of course, you were UFC heavyweight, did it all right. But now you're on this side of everything. Yeah. Commentary, podcast, and everything you've done, stage and shows and watch-alongs with Rogan and all that. What is your absolute favorite? If you said, hey, I can just do that one, make $1 gazillion. I can do the truck stuff. I can see baseball on the weekend. If you had just to pick one, what is that one?
It'd be a toss-up between the Companions with Rogan. The Companions are so much fun. It's just like the boys hanging out. Companions with Eddie, Brian, and Rogan, like the original OG crew. That's probably my favorite thing to do. And then Fighter and the Kid, like, whether the Fighter Kid makes money or not, I do that for life. Like, it's just, it's my comfort zone. And then the Shop Show's been around over 10 years. Like, I love just ranting into the camera, but I don't think much would change if, let's say Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk was like, here's $1 billion, you're a cool guy. Like, I'd still do podcasts and what I'm doing now,
Yeah. Gotta stay busy. I kind of feel the same way. We had a watch along Saturday. We had our guy Grant Dawson in the studio. We just had the best time. It was just, the boys hanging around, watching fights. We were joking. Grant had this line. I'm telling you, we posted it, Brendan. It's up your alley. Another guy, our guy, Coach Mike, asked Grant, he goes, how tall is Patty? And like Mike's like, I think he was 5'11". And then Grant looks at him and he goes, on Tinder, it said 5'11 and a half. It was so good.
That's great.
On the fly.
And then when Rogan moved to Austin, I stayed here. He was like, dude, I'm so busy. He was like, I'm so busy. Why don't you do the Companion yourself? And I was like, yeah, sure. That's easy. But it drained me, man. It drained me. It's right when I launched Thick Boy. I had 6 different shows. I doubled down everything. I was booking all these guests, and it just took the fun out of it. So I think one of the reasons I liked when I worked for Showtime. I liked when I worked for Fox. There's pros and cons, right? I liked when when I can just show up to Rogan's in Austin and it's plug and play, and Jamie's ready to go. You got Eddie there, we got Brian there. I know what they're going to add. I don't have to carry the show. When I started doing it myself, it took the fun away from it. So I kind of just stopped doing it. Same thing with Food Truck. I did Food Truck for 6 years.
Yeah, for a minute.
I did it for a hot second. I owned all the IP. So when I left Showtime, I was like, I'll just keep doing it. But then I have to book everything. And then I found myself kind of waking up the morning when I had to have Food Truck and it's like, damn, again? So I stopped doing that. I've done it for so long, and I was like, what? I'm just too comfortable. So I just shut it down, man. I shut it down.
A question I would love to pick your brain about with us doing, the game break commentary and everything that happened. I know you were going to do stuff for the GFL. Like I said, we kind of talked a little bit of off air about that. Yeah. Mike Perry's thing, Dirty Boxing, PFL, Jake. What's your 2 cents? What does one of these brands outside the juggernaut of the UFC, what does one of these brands need to do to get it right and to be semi number 2? What does one thing need to do?
Out of all those names you listed, the only one I would invest in would be Jake Paul because it's so different than the UFC. The rest of these are just knockoff versions of the UFC, and they're trying their best to mimic the UFC. And you're just not going to win that battle, man. It's like coming out with a new brand of cola. You got Coca-Cola, dude. You're not going to be Coca-Cola. So it has to be something so different that the UFC done with Jake Paul, what he's doing and fighting these guys, like it's so different than UFC. That's going to draw way more attention. So Jake Paul's doing it right. Listen, with the GFL stuff, like even you texting like, hey man, you think this is gonna, they're gonna, have events throughout the whole year? And I don't know. I don't know. They told me, before I do anything, my manager's like, let me see the funding, all that. And they had funding. I got paid, So I never assume these things are going to go through. It's just, I've been in the game too long. So I'm like, So when I got the news, I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense because it's so up and down. The fight game's so damn tough. And I think from being in the fight game with, work at Madison Square Garden with Showtime, for Bellator, for Game Bread, for all these different fight promotions, you realize that the amount of respect you should have for the UFC should be tenfold. What they're doing, I know they're the big dogs, so they get all the hate, but they're the only combat promotion to ever make a profit. They're the only one to actually work out. So hats off to Dana and that crew, man. It's wild what they do.
For sure. Like I said, here's a good one. Real ones, remember, it was the Big Brown Breakdown before the Below the Belt and Schaub show. The real ones.
Right.
I love it.
That's right.
I love it. That's my little bro, man. Last one for you. I know you got to run, and you kind of mentioned it earlier. And maybe I showed you this little note before we went on. What can the UFC do about the star power? We got Ian Gary right in a week and a half in Kansas City on short notice again, but a tough matchup. We got Patty, but pretty soon, right? Poirier's last fight's in 2.5 months. John Jones's last fight's happening sooner or later. Connor's never coming back. What does the UFC need to do? How do they create new stars? Sugar Sean O'Malley's fighting Marab again. That's not great.
That's not good.
I know that's not good. What do they need to do to get another star or two?
I think all major leagues like NFL, MLB, NBA go through this. Like when Jordan retired and Magic retired and Bird, like that whole class retired, everyone's like, oh, they're cooked, they're screwed. With NFL, Tom Brady retires or whoever it is, Barry Sanders, like, oh, they're done. Not really, man. So they'll figure it out. What I would like to see happen, it's a double-edged sword because I think they need to cut down with the 43 shows, back it up and make more quality cards and build these stars because it's so spread out. It's so kind of watered down now. It's tough to make stars. They need to go back to what they were doing. Maybe there's a middle ground there with instead of 43, maybe it's 30, but the cards are better quality. Now, I love having a fight every weekend. I watch it all from the prelims, but I'm different. But I think in order for them to establish these stars, don't have as many, man. You don't need to sign every guy off the Contender Series and then boost them to the top because fans aren't grabbing a hold of them, So I think they just need to dial it back a little bit. Now that might mean less money, so it might not make sense business-wise for them.
And I mean, like I said, I don't want to reiterate something you already said, but like it's wild. Like we look at the UFC 315 card. Like we're going to call a spade here. It's a bad card. It's a horrible pay-per-view. Terrible. And I've been saying it. I know the fight nights, they're free on ESPN Plus for now, right? They should clean up some of the fight nights, put some of the younger guys. Ian Gary should never be on a fight night. Like that man, how about if Ian Gary and Prates was on UFC 315? Now we're cooking a little bit. It's like we take so much talent. We put them on fight nights, even co-main events. Sometimes their fight nights are pretty solid. And then on the pay-per-views, like 315, it's horrific. It's a bad show, period.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Like 315 is so bad, man. 315 is so atrocious. And I didn't, I was so hyped about 314. And my producer, I'm like, bring up 315, Brad. I'm like, holy shit. That's the worst pay-per-view I've seen in a hot second, man. Yeah. That is bad.
The funny thing is, you ready for this? It's going to be even worse for you, B. You had Gilbert Burns and Michael Morales on that. They took that fight off the card. That's main event in the fight night 2 weeks later. There you go.
The UFC just kind of like that because it's almost the NFL where like the brand is the kind of the attraction now. The Shield. I think they're off on that. I don't think the UFC's there. Now their numbers might beg to differ, but I've seen some stuff and numbers are down. So let's figure it out here. You can't keep just being like, no, we'll just give people whatever they want. They keep paying for it. It's not true. And when it comes to when they're like, the gate with the biggest it's ever been in Miami. That's all bullshit. So when they say the gate, when they say like UFC 314 biggest gate ever, no. they actually sold less tickets than last time, but the prices have gone up. Inflation of the ticket has gone up.
Right.
So they might have sold less tickets, but the amount of ticket prices has gone up significantly.
Right.
So when they keep going, we set record gate, President's here and all this, it's all bullshit. They're actually selling less tickets. It's just more expensive tickets.
Crazy. Hey, you got baseball this weekend? You got the playoffs start for you?
No, not yet. We got baseball playoffs starting in 2 weeks, but that's a rec league, and that team's terrible. I don't. Last game, my son, I told him, he goes, "What's the goal today?" I go, "No hitter, dude. At rec league, you have to throw no hitter." Okay. So he's throwing a no hitter, and people are like, "Oh, no hitter." Listen, it's rec, so they usually pitch about 3 to 4 innings. 4 innings.
Yeah, 3 to 4. 3 to 4. I'm in it.
Yeah, he pitched 4. He had a no hitter to the 4th inning, and then this kid, the ball just went through his legs, and he looks at me. He's like, all pissed. I go, "Well, that still counts, dude." Yeah. And so and then a kid hits a pop fly. Kid dropped that. I'm like, all right, bro, that's not a no hitter. But that team's screwed, and so it's a horrible loss, right? We win the whole game, then they lose because the kids make mistakes. And the coach goes, "Coach Schaub, you got anything to say?" And I was trying to be serious. I go, "We're still in the playoffs." But I started laughing, and then the parents are laughing. I'm like, "Yeah, we're still in the playoffs, baby." And you just tell the parents, like, "Dude, get out of here." But travel ball, we have our first tournament on Friday, and that's big boy ball. So that's big boy.
And Brian, I know you got to run. All
right, brother, you're fine. I got a while.
Well, okay. When did the whole Austin thing come about? Like we talked a little bit about it off air. Was this major plan for a long time, or was it like, I remember you were like, "Hey, Brian, you got to go there. Like you got to be there. You're being a good guy, good friend, good brother, right?" You're like, "You got to go." Did you think in the back of your mind you were going to go? Like, how did? Dude, I got 4 kids. I can't move across the city without being a 2-year plan. You know what I mean? Like, how'd you get this done, brother?
I know. It started with the fires. Like, so if you don't know the way LA works, so think of a mountain like this. Yeah. Palisades is here, and I'm on the other side of the mountain. The only thing that separates us is the mountain. Yeah. So when the fires hit, the fires everyone I'm sure heard about, there's all these fire trucks around my neighborhood, like everywhere. And one of the fire truck guys recognized me. I'm talking to him, and he goes, "Buddy, get your kids out." I go, "Really?" I go, "But we're good here." He goes, "You're not." He goes, "Because we're here because if those winds change 2 miles an hour this way, you're the Palisades." Yeah. He was like, "Don't wait for the government to tell you to get your kids out." So we dipped out. Power shut down. We were shut down for 2 weeks, living with my mother-in-law and my wife. I wanted to move during the pandemic. I was so sick of LA in the pandemic. Right. And that's when all my guys moved. And my wife just wasn't having it. She's from here. Her family's here. So she wasn't having it. Then the fire, she looked at me and was like, "Let's get the hell out of here." I'm like, "Really?" She was like, "Yep." So I put the house up the next day for sale. The other house was up for sale. And then when those sold, I'm like, "Oh, shit, it's getting real." And then for me, it got real when I had to shut down my fish tanks on Saturday. I was like, "Oh, shit, I'm really leaving, man." So I think it's just time. I think it's good for the kids, for them to see a little bit of adjustment. Everyone's a little too comfortable. Okay. And it's just whenever I make these big moves, it always works out. So I think it's good. And in regards to Callan, comedy in LA is pretty dead. It used to be the golden age. It used to be especially 2018, 2019, especially when I got into comedy, like 2016 to 2019 was like the golden age of the comedy store. All that's gone. It's all spread out. COVID kind of messed everything up. Cancellation culture messed everything up. So the comedy store is not really pop anymore. So for Callan, he just became kind of this road comic, and he's on his own. He's not around, his peers and stuff like that. So I told him he needs to move, and he's like, "Oh, I agree with you." And then when the fires happened, I told him, I said, "I'm leaving, dude. I'm leaving." And he's like, "Serious?" I'm like, "I'm leaving, bud. I'm leaving. I think you should come, but he has kids here. He has family house here." I go, "I don't put any pressure on you, but I'm out." Yeah. So he was just like, "All right, I'm coming with you." Yeah. And, Brian's crazy ass. We went out before we did the companion. We came out like 2 days earlier, and I do my homework. I went through all the neighborhoods. I looked at probably 30 homes and still didn't make a decision. I had to go back the following week. Brian, first house he looks at, doesn't even tell me, bought the house. Doesn't tell me. And like 2 weeks later, he's like, "Oh yeah, man, Austin's great." I'm like, "What the fuck you mean?" He's like, "Oh, I moved." I'm like, "Oh my God, dude, I got to go to the studio still." He's like, "Really?" He's like, "How long is that going to take?" I'm like, "Right to May, dude."
It takes a minute.
Now, and he's going back and forth, So, it's a big move, man. But I think it'll be good for us.
I love it, man. Hey, B, always appreciate you. Appreciate your time. I'm still staying true. 2027, the No BS show. Okay, that stuff's coming.
Let me know, brother. Let me know, man. I love that. That'd be fun,
I'm flying from Daytona to Austin. I'll be home. I'll tell the wife and kids I'll be home the next night. No BS.
Yeah, get it done, man. Let me know, brother.
Awesome, brother. You're the man. Talk to you soon. All right.
Talk soon.
All right. Be Schaub, guys. All right. Let's bring in Elle Dawson. What's up, Elle? You just missed the great Brendan Schaub. Oh, mute.
Sorry. I wanted to make sure you guys couldn't hear me eating my noodles.
We missed you, Elle. We missed you.
I'm sorry I'm late, guys. I'm so bummed I missed Brendan. But comment section is popping, so I'm sure it was.
I know. He says anytime. I think we're gonna see Brendan Schaub more often. He was cool stuff.
Watch along. We need a Brendan Schaub watch along.
Wow, we got to fly him into Daytona Beach.
No, we're gonna fly everybody here.
So Dylan's bed wasn't good enough, huh?
No, it's not that. We need early. We're early night people.
I know. And you did it back-to-back nights too. PFL in Orlando.
That's why it was tough. It was too much in one weekend. And we did Disney.
Oh,
it was crazy. But I'm back, guys. I'm back at PFL this week. So
I know.
I head back up tomorrow.
I love it. It's so much to get into. Like we really got to get into UFC 314. You were at PFL last week. I was at that Aiden Ross show last week. This week we got Island Fights. It's Island Fights week. It's always home for me. So crazy. You guys are back at PFL. Tawny reached out to me. She's like, "We're seeing you this week." I go, "No, Tawny. I'm booked again. I'm booked like a library, yo."
It's gonna be a different week, different energy. No Dave Van Auken, but John and I will be there.
Yeah, you guys will get it done.
Taking care of business. So, and it's a killer week at PFL, by the way.
It's probably the best week of the PFL out of the four. And let's just be honest, maybe they pulled a really smart move behind the scenes with no UFC this weekend. This is the perfect time for the PFL to go all in on the book. I'm sorry. I don't know where these come from. I don't know.
Neither do we.
Popped out of my head. Do you like the new cut a little bit with cutting the side tighter? This is coming up now a little bit.
It looks a little cleaner, yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
It's very salt and pepper. That's a good thing.
I've been hearing about it for 2 weeks. My kids, strangers, they're like, "Sir, why do you have gray hair?" I'm like, "Oh my goodness." Strangers are saying this to me.
This cut definitely accentuates it, but in a very classy way.
I'm over it now. All right, let's talk about UFC 314. All right, let's talk about something we had fun. A watch along. It was phenomenal. Coach Mike, yourself, Grant, and me. It was great. Let's start at the top. Alexander Volkanovski reclaimed the featherweight champion. I thought it was we'll get into Patty, but it was a phenomenal. I think it was a career-defining moment for Volkanovski. If he lost that one and if he lost that one and kind of had the knockout with Topuria and with Islam and then loses this one, it would be like one of those Anderson Silva type of endings for him. Him winning this fight just puts him back into this all-time talk, maybe one of the greatest featherweights of all time, if not the best. But what did you think of just his performance on Saturday?
I mean, he fought a really dangerous guy very well. And you did start to see him kind of slip into, I think he made a lot of mistakes when he fought Ilya. I don't think that is a fight that is unwinnable for Volkanovski. And I think we saw him fight a little bit more. Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's unwinnable. I'm not saying that we watch them fight 10 times out of 10 that Volk wins. I'm just saying I feel like we saw him with a much more disciplined stance against Diego Lopez, who he knows is very dangerous. And after getting knocked out by Ilya, we saw him doing a lot better. He fought a lot cleaner. Yeah, very similar to, wrong one. Volk's first round against Ilya, where he did look very good and he was very disciplined. He fought a little bit more recklessly, I think, and got caught, which absolutely could happen even if he didn't fight recklessly because Ilya is that good. But we saw glimpses of that in the fight, and you would see him get clipped. You would see Diego Lopez have a moment, and then Volk would get back to his very defensively sound stance, moving his feet better. If you see when he would slip, he would pull back. That's when he would get hit by Lopez. But then when he started using his feet to draw himself out of the pocket, we saw a much safer Volk.
Yeah, no, I agree. With him winning this championship, what does that do for Volkanovski, for, featherweight status, for Volkanovski's all-time status? What does that do for Volkanovski's, I know career sounds too, for his his resume, for his lineage, his legacy?
I think it all depends on what happens with Diego next. If Diego becomes the division's new Max Holloway, I think that this cements so much for Volk. Okay. If Diego goes out and loses to a Gene Silva or a Yair, I think that changes things a little bit. I think it really depends how Diego Lopez, because this was a close fight. I do think Volk won. And obviously a lot of people had it 4 rounds to 1. Some people had it 2 to 3. But Volk decisively won this fight, but it was a close fight where Diego had a lot of Diego plus Lopez. He had a lot of good moments. I don't think we can discount that. So it's to CXMS's point here, Ilya mostly KOs and combos, not a single punch. I agree. And Diego Lopez, when he had his good moments, very rarely was it a single punch. It was a well set up combination where Volk would draw the first punch and then try to draw back further. And then if your feet are still stuck in the same position, you can only go back so far, where if your feet are underneath you, you can move better, I think that it really depends where Diego goes. I think the reason why Volk is so cemented is because we think so highly of Max Holloway.
Right. Can I give you one? I thought about this, and of course, watching the fight. It's so funny doing a watch along. It's different from watching the fight at home by yourself or with a significant other. Like you can kind of lock it because you're on, the red light. Like I usually say, it's just different. The one thing I will say about Diego Lopez that I'm a tad disappointed with, and maybe people will disagree with me. I always say this, Elle, if the ESPN goes, hey, John Anik, just pull, he has the flu, you're on. It's going to be you, DC, and Rogan. My first line, I will say something, hey, I'm a dad of 4, David Auken here. This is UFC 315. I will be me. That. I will burn. I will go down on my shield. I will be me. I just feel like Diego knew it was 5 rounds, and maybe I think he heard some criticism hey, sometimes you're a little bit too, you're out there, you're dangerous, but if you can't do that for 5, I felt like he never did it to the very end, where I think he actually had some momentum towards the end because he's oh, I got to go. This is it. I wish Diego would have just went. And if you lose and you lose on your shield, so be it. But I felt like it wasn't the best Diego or the Diego Lopez type performance.
I don't disagree. I think 5 rounds against somebody that will not go away or get worse as the fight goes on, somebody as just veteran as Volkanovski, I think that's very daunting. That 5 rounds is scary, And I could definitely, I kept saying this on Saturday night on our watch along. For those of you who are watching, I was I feel like he needs more chaos. We need to see him create these car crashes where he puts them both in the phone booth, because and every time he did that, he had success. So maybe it was the fact that he was not initiating those exchanges. And maybe part of it was also, fighting Volk is not easy.
Yeah, I agree.
Volkanovski didn't give him as many opportunities to set those up either, because Volk was so disciplined. He was moving in and out very carefully. He was keeping his hands really tight. I agree it wasn't the Lopez we usually see. I just don't know how much of that was Diego Lopez not fighting well. And I don't want to say well, because he did, he had some really good moments, and I think
for sure.
It impressed a lot of people for getting this huge opportunity after just it's been in the UFC a year and a half, not long at all. So I don't want to discount that at all, but I'm not sure how much of that was just Volk controlling the range,
I totally forgot to send Gillian the link, so I'm doing that right now.
Live
on air.
She can get in on her own.
Oh, you're right. She's a boss now at Fight Bananas. I totally forgot about that.
She's official.
Yeah, she's official. All right. So I felt like we hit Volk, we hit Diego. I guess my next thing is what's the fallout? Volk is our champion now. Diego Lopez, even with the loss, I don't think he loses a lot. I think he will have a major fight. I think I'm answering it for you, and I'm sorry, Elle. His next fight will be a Yair Rodriguez, a Gene Silva, a LaRon Murphy. Like, his next fight's a big fight. Did I mess up his name?
No. I just think, how crazy is it that Gene Silva, who has 5 fights in the UFC, is now in this conversation with Yair? How nuts! Right? I don't disagree with you. Okay. I just think it's crazy that he has just blossomed so insanely fast. And honestly, I really would like to see Diego and Gene Silva next.
Oh my goodness. Take my money. Just take it.
I disagree with Giovanni here. I commend Volkanovski for wanting to add Movsar's Evloev's undefeated record to his legacy. He should want that. Movsar is the toughest fight at 145, 100%. I'm disappointed that I just don't think the UFC is going to make it happen. For whatever reason, they just don't seem to want Movsar to get this moment. So I think Yair is probably, if it's not Movsar, it has to be Yair, which, how disappointing. Yair has not been the dominant fighter that Movsar has. He looked okay against a almost 38-year-old Bellator champion that made 135 recently.
Yeah.
I'm not, after seeing Yair's performance, he won. It was decisive. I didn't look at that and go, yes, that man needs to fight for a title.
I agree. I think Volk beats him again like he did in National Fight Week. We'll get right back into this featherweight talk. Giovanni put a great comment out here, and it's a huge discussion point. And I think some people don't, I'm just going to kind of watch some stuff. All right. Giovanni goes, ESPN is out. UFC makes new deal today. Netflix or what's next? The ESPN is out. Okay. And Elle, I don't know if you have so much on it. I have a ton on this. This is big, I think, for us going forward. For one, ESPN is not out. Like, ESPN, the deal that they have is done and finished going forward, but ESPN is definitely not out, guys. ESPN is they're the mainstream sports. To get the casuals, the UFC, I think, will stay on ESPN. I think it's important for them to stay on ESPN. I just think, guys, think of what the NFL does. The NFL, there's a red zone it's on YouTube TV. You can watch Fox or CBS. At night, they're on NBC. Christmas, they're on Netflix. Thursday night, they're on Amazon Prime. I think. And Elle just texted me. I just think that they got multiple different things going. So, Elle, what's your take? What
have I heard? What have I heard? What are the rumors of the rumor mill? So I have heard that pay-per-views will stay on ESPN.
Okay.
So, and I think that makes sense. And I honestly think that's probably best case scenario for the fighters.
ESPN Plus.
Yes, because the prime, like, a lot of these fighters make pay-per-view points. And we don't want those fighters to lose that. Yep. Because these organizations, these TV deals outside of the UFC or outside of the US, fighters don't get pay-per-views for those, even though people are technically paying for the pay-per-views. Because like in South America and Mexico, they're paying for Combate or they're paying for Univision. And Univision is a monthly subscription. So while they do include the pay-per-views and they get the pay-per-views, those don't count as pay-per-view sales for the fighters. So even though people are buying the pay-per-views in that way, fighters don't get pay-per-view points for that. They only get it for the US and Canada. Okay. So I like to see, as much as I would love some free pay-per-views, I'm glad that the fighters are still going to get their pay-per-view points if ESPN keeps the pay-per-views. Now, what I've heard is there's going to be other events, fight nights, maybe Contender Series, Ultimate Fighter on other platforms like Netflix, like Prime, which I love because I think this also opens up the opportunity for the UFC to do what we have been begging them to do for a year and a half, which is build their own feeder promotions, make Contender Series a year-round show, found their own LFA, buy LFA, like do something where they have more control over the just over the playing field and over the up and coming fighters. That is what I would love to see the UFC do with this kind of deal. Yeah, no, I agree. And I do think that's the way they're going to go. It's guys, and people say, oh, you're copying them. When someone as big as the NFL, a juggernaut in the industry, does something and it works, like you do the same. Like I also think this, Elle, I think next 2026, because it's hard to kind of change dates and calendars like already, I think the UFC will have some certain days like, hey, Thanksgiving is on Netflix. New Year's Eve is Netflix. And some, Black Friday. Like the bowl games, like the Thanksgiving Day football. Yes. Like that's what we need. We need these. I think that's what football has that the UFC doesn't have. The UFC only has that every 10 years with a 100, 200, or 300. Right. Those are the only, I guess Noche is kind of a big deal, but not as big as the Super Bowl, not as big as the Bowl. Yeah, we need those yearly events for people to put on their calendar. And I think that's what, let's just be honest, TKO with WWE and with WrestleMania, it's a strategy. I think people will get behind it. And I think Netflix, and I know this is a horrible name, Fight Bowl. You create a name and you can just make any date you want. I know it's horrible, guys. Fight Bowl. Look it up. But March 10th is Fight Bowl. So you do Fight Bowl 1 on Netflix. And then you make it a stacked card. And then the next one comes up, dude, I can't wait for Fight Bowl 2. And it just kind of makes it different and historic. You still have 311, 318, 325 all on ESPN Plus. I think you ready for this? I think the Contender Series can go on Amazon Prime every Tuesday night. 40 weeks a year. Contender Series on Prime. I think that's phenomenal. That's all we want. That's all we want. And honestly, think about people people won't watch fights on Tuesday. It's they will if it becomes a thing. People watch Monday Night Football. People watch Sunday. People set their schedules around college basketball. College basketball doesn't set its schedule around everybody else. 100%. You ready for this? The basketball national championship was on Monday night. And sometimes the NBA finals has these, you never know when the last game of the season could be. It could be on a Thursday night because they randomly play on days and every 2 or 3 days. So I'm thinking something big. And by the way, one, I don't think you're going to hear an announcement today. It takes, what I mean? They probably already have something lined up. Let's just be brutally honest. These billion-dollar deals don't just happen over Thunderdome Thursdays. That is so good. Dawson, we love you, dude. That's a great comment. But I think it will take some time, but I do agree. I think pay-per-views once a month will stay on ESPN Plus. And then I think everything else is for sale. I honestly hope that we do see remember back in the day, UFC on Fox, those fight nights? I love those, mainstream Fox. I thought that was so cool. Yeah. No, and they have the ABC show every year, and it's a bigger broadcast than some of the other big shows. Just because of that. And I also I think this helps them to change more things. I think the reason why they don't want to change something for one show, like a rule or add 5 judges or add open scoring. All we have to do is change it for one event and see how it goes. But they don't want to do that because then it's okay, well, if somebody gets screwed because of a rule change, they're going to be upset that everybody else didn't get that. But if they have all these little different kinds of events, they can take, they have Thursday fight nights or something. They can take all the Thursday fight nights that are smaller and they can go, okay, let's just for this year, let's do them all with 5 judges and open scoring. And let's compare it. I think it's an opportunity if they have different platforms and different outlets, it's an opportunity for them to test new rule sets that will improve the sport. We all agree. CXMS was talking about how he had a great comment earlier about just how subjective judging and scoring in MMA is. Perfect. Let's mess with it.
Yeah.
Like, let's fix it. But we have to change things to fix it. We can't continue along with the same 3 judges and the same subjective rule set. Expect change. So now you have a totally separate platform that people aren't, maybe has less eyes on it. Change it on that. Do a test run. Why not?
I totally agree. I love it. I think my wife just popped on. Susie, watch the beginning of the show. I mentioned you and with the Brendan Schaub Bravo thing. You're welcome, darling. All right. Happy wife, happy life. So there you go. I know, dude. It was a good weekend. All right. So let's put a pin on that. Let's kind of go back to the featherweights. Gene Silva won. Bryce Mitchell did not. Yair Rodriguez won. Pitbull did not. And I know this sounds so bad, man. I think Aaron Pico is coming to the UFC with a lot of runway still left. I think Michael Chandler did for a little bit. That runway's over. We'll get into that in a second. We haven't even mentioned Patty.
Finally, the rankings. Finally, some change in the rankings.
There might be a big post later on today with Fight Bananas and Grant Dawson about some rankings. We'll hint for the future. But those 4 featherweights, what does Silva, Mitchell, Yair, and Pitbull do next? What's the ascension and some game plan and some plans for those 4?
Well, Bryce Mitchell, I mean, you brought his name up. Why not give Bryce Aaron Pico?
Oh, no.
I think I'm just saying, if they want to have a benchmark for Aaron Pico, I think Bryce Mitchell is a perfect opportunity. He's difficult to fight. He's difficult to fight, but he doesn't have any knockout power, which is probably, if we're looking at Aaron Pico, probably Pico's biggest hole, right? So that's how he tends to lose. Pico can wrestle with him. He has the skills. He has the wrestling pedigree. Yeah. And I think he outboxes Bryce. So, but if Pico loses to Bryce Mitchell, that's a pretty solid benchmark for where Pico is at in the UFC. Right. Like they were going to do Pico and Movsar. I don't think that's a proper benchmark because you can lose a fight to Movsar and still be an amazing fighter. Look at Arnold Allen. Yeah. Like, I don't think that's a good benchmark. I think Bryce Mitchell's perfect.
And let's be honest, like I don't know why. Maybe I'm, hey, we like the UFC here at Fight Bananas. It is what it is. We don't hide it. We love it. We like it. They are the juggernauts of the industry. We follow them and we cover them. It creates revenue for Fight Bananas. So we love the UFC. I dislike when an outsider, dude, even Kayla Harrison is a gold medalist, 2-time world champion. Even Kayla had to have like 2 big fights to get to the title. And that's in a division that's so thin. Aaron Pico, what happened if Pico beat Mozart in the first round? Like, what's like, right? Like, you would have to put him in a big fight or title shots. Like, that's not fair.
Like that would have been the UFC's plan if Aaron Pico had a prayer of beating Movsar Evloev, which I don't believe he does. So it's let's see, Pitbull versus Aldo. I
think he means Yair. Oh no, Aldo.
What weight class on earth? What on earth weight class would Pitbull and Aldo fight at?
Yeah, Pitbull can't make 135 anymore.
I mean, he did, but he looked terrible at 135.
He's not making that weight anymore.
Yeah, he's not. That's not his weight class. And Aldo is.
I think we need to.
This should happen, Chris.
If the UFC doesn't.
But I don't think it's going to. I do not think the UFC wants him in that spot. Movsar was in Miami. If they wanted that fight to happen, they would have stuck Movsar in the cage with Volk after that fight, and just like they did with Sean O'Malley. Yeah. And they didn't. I don't even know if they said he was there. Like, on the broadcast. Like, and Volk is very clearly, like, that is the toughest fight for Volk, and it is the fight that does the most for his legacy at 145 right now. But I don't think they're going to do it. I don't know why.
That's crazy. Shout out real quick. Andrew won our giveaway Saturday night, doing some one-arm push-ups on the broadcast. My man, I literally just mailed out your Mozart gloves to you today. Literally just went out today. So there you go. Congratulations, Andrew, on being the winner of Mozart Evolve's glove. UFC signed glove. We're going to get some more. Elle, you're bringing that to Orlando tomorrow?
I am. It will be there this time.
There we go.
I want to answer SG's question. I'm saying as the current featherweight standing is right now. I'm not saying he's tougher than Islam, obviously, or Ilya, who both beat Volkanovski, but Ilya's at 155 now. Volk isn't fighting Islam ever again. I think as the featherweight standings are right now, I think Movsar is the toughest fight for Volkanovski.
Yeah, and let's just call a spade a spade. He's the undefeated, I don't want to say prospect, but I think everyone knows guys, he's the undefeated guy in the division. I think he's 9-0 in the UFC. Like, he's next.
18-0 overall.
He's next. All right, here's a sentence that no one has said since Saturday, and I'm probably going to butcher the name because it's what I do. Verna Jandrodrova is next for the championship. Was I close on it?
No, but yes, you are. Verna Jandrodrova.
Jandrodrova.
Definitely next. And
she's
honestly,
next, guys.
I've wanted to see her fight up the division more. And I'm really disappointed that we did not get to see Verna versus Tatiana Suarez, because I think that would have given us a really great benchmark for both Verna and Tatiana. And instead, they both had to get tested against Weili Zhang. So and Verna has a hell of a resume. Like, she does. She's only lost to insanely good like, people who can wrestle with her are the only people who have beat Verna Jandrodrova.
Yeah, she's next. So,
you might be right.
Here you go, Chris. Yeah, can we shout out Adam Hill? He was the coach for SD Dimas. He made the walk in UFC 314 despite dealing with brain cancer. He was the most deserving of the performance of the night bonus than anyone else. Yes, we all agree. I think everyone's seen that on socials, and we even posted something about it. Yeah, man, that's an amazing story. I don't know a lot of details, so I don't want to sound like I know what I'm talking about when I don't, but I do know that he's dealing with horrible situation. The man still showed up to work, coach his fighter, support his fighter. Much love, much respect. That's what I will say on that.
Absolutely.
Vina. I believe it's pronounced. Thank you. I need to do that. Verna versus Gillian, maybe to cage near you. Ooh. I like that.
Be some fun grappling exchanges.
So this is my point. So this is my one Verna point I do want to get off. She's not a cash cow. She's not a blazing prospect. So I do think it's, if Weili wanted to move up and to try the Valentina thing, if Valentina defeats Fiorot, I think that's okay. Sometimes there's a prospect you can't do that to. You know what I mean? Like, in a division, like Marab was going to fight Sugar. Sugar was next. You know what I mean? Verna's not that type of fighter. So if Weili wants to, and I don't know, like, I know in the moment sometimes it's talked about. That fight would be cool, but I love when fighters stay in their division and fight the next challenger. I just think that's what we should do.
I think that where Weili's at right now, like, the only thing that could make her more cemented, and honestly, I don't even know if it does that much for her, would be obviously if she got that win back against Rose. But Rose isn't Rose anymore. I don't know if it's just because she went up a weight class and the girls are too big, or she's just getting a little bit older, slowing down a little. But I just don't think that there really is that fight left for Weili that she needs to cement her legacy. Right now, she's the best. I agree. Dakota beats them all. I'm just waiting for us to see Dakota Ditcheva in the UFC. But
wait, where are you going to see Dakota Ditcheva?
Eventually, we are all aware that someday she will probably be in the UFC. We would like to see it. We would all like to see it. Nothing is set, David. Anyway, Verna versus the winner of Barbara Blanchfield. These are two different weight classes.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
But
some comments I just let it roll, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not really sure I understand exactly. Oh, I got you, Dawson. We got you, Dawson. That pound for pound. That makes sense. I guess they have similarities, but is he coaching him? Is he training with him? He's way too big to actually train with him. But is he just coming in and coaching him through some scenarios. Obviously, Izzy is a phenomenal counter striker. Sean O'Malley, the only way that he's beating Merab is if he counters him and knocks him out, in my opinion.
Let's be honest. A lot of this stuff, guys, we're going to pull the curtain off a little bit, guys. There's a curtain here in our studio. A lot of stuff is done just for social media. Okay. All right. It is what it is. Like sometimes people say stuff, there's handshakes. They make even a video, a post. I literally know a fighter who flew to another state just to take pictures in that gym. They didn't even train at the gym. There's a lot. It is what it is. It's 2025. It's the world we live in.
Right. I mean, and how many amazing wrestlers has Israel Adesanya beat? Because there's just a wealth of 185-pound wrestlers, right? Like, this is acceptable, Ryan, as long as you're watching. No, I feel like there's just not. He has never had to fight a Merab Dvalishvili because they aren't in his weight class. Like they're few and far between. Like I feel like he would have a lot more benefit bringing in Movsar, a guy like that to prepare for Merab than, I don't know.
Jake, we'll get into this in a second, but there's even another comment I want to bring up first. I will definitely talk about Juliana Pena for sure, for hours. That's the last hour of the show. Guys, I will say this. No one loves to watch exciting fights. No one wants to see, everyone loves to see a knockout. Everyone wants to see fun stuff. I get it. But at the end of the day, this is a sport like a football game or a basketball game. Sometimes the most flashiest team or the funnest team doesn't win. The team who gets the most points or the team that wins moves on. Mozart is 9-0 in the UFC, 19-0 or 18-0 overall. If you win fights, look at Bilal Muhammad. Look, there's other fighters that this happened to. If you keep winning fights under the greatest fight organization on this planet, you're going to fight for the championship sooner or later. Like, I know he's not the most exciting style. I get it. But there has to be a sooner or later a thing of, oh, he's winning. He's 9-0 under the banner. I think he made a great tweet. This man defeated Aljamain Sterling, Arnold Allen, Diego Lopez. Like, that's like 2, 5, and 8. Like, what do you like?
Well, and I also just don't think he's getting the credit he deserves. His fights are not that boring, guys. Go back, watch the Arnold Allen fight. That was not there are way worse fights than that.
Yes.
There were way worse fights than that on that card. And for some reason, that is the fight that got the hate. I literally texted Dave watching the Movsar versus Aljamain Sterling fight, and I was like, this fight is incredible. I cannot wait to see all the comments from casuals talking about how boring it is. Like, I know it's coming, but that was one of the most high level, intense, scrambly, exciting, grappling heavy fights I've ever seen. So I know you're not calling him boring. I feel like hate is unwarranted. And yes, I'm biased. He's my teammate. He's my friend, but I still also really enjoy watching him fight even before I knew the guy. So yeah, we got to talk about
he might be the next featherweight champion. We just mailed his signed UFC glove to our winner, Andrew. So shout out. We'll do another watch along. I don't know, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think so. I thought about maybe doing one for UFC Kansas City at Ian Gary show. So I'm thinking about it. All right, let's get into this a little bit. I know G will love to talk about this. I think she'll be on in a couple minutes. Amanda looking more ready for a fight for Kayla or Juliana. All right, so I watched this press conference live. Elle and Grant were driving from Miami to Orlando. Funny thing is, I was literally driving from Daytona to Miami to do that Aiden Ross show, and I put it on my phone. I was listening to it while I was driving. And guys, I know that I think there's a little bit of a standard when we're on platforms and we talk and all that. I don't think we should make up lies, but I always say this. I always have to be honest, and this is just who I am and fair. What Juliana Pena, like that was I've never seen someone at a press conference get more booed or more cringe. I've never seen someone so 0 to 100 than Juliana Pena to Kayla Harrison. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
No, I agree. I went back and watched it. I thought Kayla was just so composed.
So good.
Like she didn't let Juliana, because Juliana Pena has this just really how do I explain her voice? It's just the worst to listen too. And it's so like shrill. And she like, I would get angry listening to Juliana Payne yell at me. And Kayla did such a good job. She didn't get like dragged into like we're yelling back and forth at each other. She just waited, responded like just super direct. She's like so clean, so professional. I feel like Kayla will kill it on the mic.
Talking about clean. Talking about professional, we're 3 weeks out from UFC Iowa, the great soon-to-be strawweight champion in Canada and in Florida, the one and only, who is at UFC Miami, by the way. No invite at all, Elle. No invite. The one and only Gillian the Savage Robertson.
I hardly got an invite, honestly.
Was that a sponsor boot? Like a sponsor?
It wasn't even it was a friend sponsor. So
not the UFC's tickets.
Yeah, I got a leftover ticket from a friend sponsor, not the UFC. So
come on, Hunter.
I love it, dude. We've had so many great comments. Brendan Schaub was on to start the show. G, did you see any of that press conference with Kayla or Juliana? It was insane. It was such a polar opposite. I've never seen someone 100 to a 0 someone.
I did not get a chance to see it, but
okay.
I already know exactly which way it was going. Yeah. I'm like, just every time Juliana talks, I'm like, I don't think anybody is really enthused.
It was so bad. It was so bad. But all right, you were there live for UFC 314. I don't think you stayed for the main event. Maybe I figured that out. But how was it? How was the show? Did anything surprise you from the crowd? Were you there for the Patty Pimblett entrance? I thought that was electric. How was UFC 314 being there live?
So I showed up. I actually just walked in during the Chase Hooper and Jim Miller fight.
Ooh, nice.
Which I found absolutely hilarious that every time Chase got in a good position, everybody was booing. Just the whole crowd so behind Jim Miller. How can you hate on Jim? You know,
how can you hate Chase? I like Chase.
No, I agree with that too. But I'm like,
okay.
I feel like Jim's a legend of the sport. The whole crowd was there for him, and like literally anything good that Chase, like he got in those like calf crusher positions like twice. The whole crowd booed.
What a guy.
I got a left field question for you right away because I asked it to Grant during our watch along, and it was about Jim Miller. And I'll ask you the same question. If right now, G, if I say to you in a magic ball, G, your career will be just like Jim Miller. You will have this insane longevity. You will fight on like these mega pay-per-views, like 100, like this, just a Jim Miller career. I think future Hall of Famer, but never be like a champion or even like a title challenger. But you also have a great, great career. Would you accept the Jim Miller career, or you go, nope, I'm going to go on my Gillian Robertson way, and for better or for worse, I'll go my way?
I think everybody's goal is kind of the belt. You know, I think Jim Miller would probably say the same thing, that that's what he was probably chasing.
right,
you know, like, because I'm like, if I don't reach the belt, I hope to have a career like Jim Miller. You know?
Okay.
So I hope that if I don't reach the belt, I'm still a veteran. I'm still push and fight. Like I said, he's a crowd favorite. Everybody was there for him. The last couple of fights that he's had beautiful finishes. Like I would love to have a career like him if I didn't reach the championship belt, you know, but I'm like, right now my goal is the belt and that's it. So I think that is the story for most people in the UFC.
No, I like that. I think that's probably the best answer I heard yet of that question. Was that okay? So you watched Jim Miller and Chase. I think was the next fight the Verna fight. Did you watch that one live?
I think that might have been the next one, and yeah, I was like glued to that.
Yeah,
I honestly think she is a true contender for Weili at this point. If they do match up, I think that the fight could very well go Verna's way. I think she does take a lot of damage, but I also think she has this like almost like she doesn't care. Like she's going to keep on going and get that takedown regardless. So I think that would be her biggest, I guess, obstacle against Weili is getting caught somewhere coming in. But I also think that if she keeps on pushing the pace, that like she usually does, she'll be able to get Whaley down and control her or finish her even.
No, 100%. I'm with you. I also just like how slick were the transitions on the ground. Like, is she somebody you watch film on quite a bit? Just like the way she transitions from the back to the arm, back to a good position consistently.
Actually, no, I don't really. Just because I really find her style too much jujitsu and not necessarily MMA. So she is a beautiful jujitsu grappler, but I don't think she necessarily has the skills to do damage on the ground, which is that's really what the realm that I'm trying to be in more.
Makes sense. Yeah, no. And that's, I think a big piece missing is ground and pound from her game. It's all about hunting these subs,
Oh yeah. And it's like, the more damage you do on the ground, the more the opportunities for the submissions are going to open up, Yeah.
I mean, do you feel like that's one of the reasons she's not necessarily, she's dominating a lot of these fights, but not necessarily getting the finish?
Yeah, probably more so because she's obviously like the way she controls these girls. And like you said, the transitions that she goes to for these submissions, she's constantly trying to attack in a jujitsu manner. But I don't feel like at any point she's really like wearing these girls down, breaking them, doing damage, like really taking them out of the fight.
So that was the prelims. Dominic Reyes gets on his winning ways. Gene Silva keeps on winning fights. Yair, were you there for the Patty? Were you in transition of leaving, or did you see the Patty Michael Chandler sabotage? It was insane.
I actually watched that from the Uber.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
So I just want to say I don't know. I was sitting in the sauna Saturday morning. Gene Silva comes in and was doing like his whole like fight morning shakeout with the fighting nerds at Goat Shed.
Yeah.
So we got to like just watch that preparation, which also saying like Roofy was there hitting pads, the cleanest thing I've ever seen in my life. Just absolutely beautiful to watch. But at the very end of Jean Silva's workout, he started doing, his barking thing, and the whole gym started doing it. And you could see he just almost had like tears in his eyes. He was just like so thankful for the moment and thankful for all the support. And I'm like, in that moment, I was just like, oh, like he's going to win this. Like he just believes in himself so much, was so confident in that moment, so thankful for that moment. I just knew he was going to walk out there confident and like, what a game plan going into that fight too. Just shutting Bryce down on every single turn. It was absolutely beautiful to watch.
The thing that we mentioned so much on the watch along, like it felt like Gene Silva could have won that fight any way he wanted. Like he wanted to get a kick knockout, elbow knockout, punches. Looks like he wanted the submission win against Bryce Mitchell. Like he fought for that submission in the first, got it in the second. And like you could tell when he got it there in the second, like he wasn't giving it up. Like he was going to win via submission, which is just absurd. Like it's so hard to win fights. It's then so hard to get a finish to win a fight. How insane is it to be like, hey, I'm going to finish this guy by this way? Like it felt like in his head, he wanted a submission win. It was insane.
I feel like he was also like slowly breaking Bryce down kind of mentally. Like after he stuffed Bryce's first few shots, you really saw him kind of, he wasn't as confident in his striking and his shots and anything like that. And that's why he really started holding on to the takedowns. So he was holding on to the legs more, and holding on to the legs gives you an opportunity to jump on the neck, which obviously was a beautiful job from John Silva. I just think like the fighting nerds, I've said it before, I'm like, they come in so well game planned. I feel like it's obvious they studied their opponent. They watched Bryce Mitchell, knew everything he was going to do, and were ready for all opportunities.
I feel like that first round, it was all making reads. That's all he was doing. He's making reads. He's finding his range. He's setting his traps. And then, like Dave, you were saying, like, I just felt like he was toying with him all through the second round. Like,
that's Bryce Mitchell, too. Like, he's had really good wins in the UFC. He's defeated Edson Barbosa. Dan Ige. Didn't he defeat Shane someone else? Like, he has another good win. Maybe it's not Burgos. But good wins in the UFC.
You want me to pull Elle database, Dawson?
With watching, you said Patty in the Uber to get home before the main event is over. Great post, by the way. Love that. Insane. We haven't even talked about Patty. We've been on for an hour and 10 minutes. Guys, it's time for everyone to get on the train. Say again?
Those are his only good wins.
Ige, Barbosa.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
We've got Tyler Diamond, Bobby Moffett, Matt Sales, Charles Rosa, Andre Feely, Edson, Dan Ige, Crone Gracie. It's not quite the resume I thought it was, to be honest.
Gotcha. How did you think of the Paddy Pimblett performance, G?
I think it was kind of what I expected, honestly. I feel like I expected a dominant performance from Paddy. I don't know if I expected a TKO finish. I expected a submission, probably, honestly. There was part of me that was leaning towards that. But yeah, definitely a dominant finish for Paddy. An absolutely insane walkout. Just the energy, like I said, I was leaving. I was getting out of the arena at that point. But I'm like, I've watched all the videos and everything. I'm like, the energy in the arena, you can see it, just the star power he has. And the only thing that I will say is, because I'm definitely a fan of Paddy after his last 2 fights, I want to say. The Bobby Green fight and this fight, I feel like he's looked very well. But I saw a post saying that all of his opponents are 0-13 in their last fights.
Wow. I did not see that.
His last 3 opponents together are 0-13.
Yeah.
Chandler, Ferguson, Gordon, right?
No, and Bobby Green.
Bobby Green.
Yeah. So I'm like, they're 0-13 in their out of his last 3 opponents. So I'm like, that's not a good look either.
Yeah, he's definitely getting boosted up the rankings. Like, they have matched him up very favorably, which begs my question, like, just what do they do with him now? Like, his best matchup in the top 5 is probably Gaethje. Do you feel like he gets past Gaethje?
I don't know. I think that, I definitely think that Gaethje's a tough matchup. I don't know if he is ready for those matchups yet, you know?
I agree. And you ready for this one? I know this sounds horrible. Gaethje doesn't fight Paddy Pimblett. I'm like, I think Gaethje has made enough money, and I think there's a little bit of like, he can leave whenever he wants, or he could just take a year off. Probably not bad for the body and the mind for Gaethje. I don't think Gaethje thinks he's next for Islam. There's no way he's going back and fighting Paddy. Like, I would be shocked. There's not a lot that shocks me in this business. I would be shocked if Gaethje fights Paddy. But I do agree that's the best chance for Paddy. Does not beat Charles Oliveira. Like, he doesn't beat Charles. Arman will wrestle the crap out of him, right? Like, Ilya, I think, gets that chin. I think this was a really good one for Paddy.
He has a heck of a chin. I will give Paddy that. Like, he has a hell of a chin, but he is hittable. And I think
Volkanovski, Holloway, like Ilya, Max never got knocked out.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, like, I think Ilya has the power and the sharpness to connect, on somebody that gets hit a lot.
And guys, let me know if you disagree with me, G and L. Why doesn't Paddy beat Charles? Because he doesn't. He's not as talented as him anywhere. I think if it's just a straight kickboxing fight, I think Charles wins. I think if it's just a grappling bout, I think Charles wins. I think Charles is better than him everywhere. Like, tell me if I'm wrong.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, no, I just don't think he's that top tier yet.
Yeah. Guys, stop bringing it up, Dustin. It's not Dustin. Dustin's got 1 fight left. It's not Paddy Pimblett. We know who it is. I think most of the world does. It's not Paddy Pimblett. You don't have to worry about it. So you don't have to bring it up. There we go. Who knows? Maybe G's on that card too. Maybe a Kansas City to a New Orleans card. Who knows, G?
That'd be cool.
All right. What else? Okay, and then the main event. Volkanovski reclaims the featherweight championship. I thought he looked awesome. I think that cemented for me the greatest featherweight ever. I know there's Ilya and Connor. Those guys didn't have long enough runs. Max Holloway and Jose are the next two. Max lost to Volk 3 times, and then Jose's the argument. I that's a great fun debate. But Volkanovski did defeat him. I know they're at different times, but he did defeat him. And then I think Volk, he's got wins against Mendez, Korean Zombie, Aldo and Max, and now he's got wins against kind of this newer era of Yair and Diego. I think Volk to me.
I don't think that resume, because the age of the fighters makes a big difference, and I don't think that resume stands up against Aldo's. I love Volkanovski, but Aldo was beating prime Chad Mendes. Volk was beating old Chad Mendes. You know.
Yeah,
I knew Volk beat Aldo, but once again, Aldo was an old man by that point. He wasn't the same Aldo. And old man Aldo is still killing it.
No, Aldo, did you guys see? Oh, Aldo wasn't as old as people think he was when he did fight Volk.
What year was that? Database.
I think I saw something that he was 34.
I feel like Aldo and Max both just have like never aged. They've fought forever.
That's true. Jose's amazing. I love Jose.
No, I know you love him too. I just
love Jose.
When I just look at the prime era of guys he was beating.
No, it's great.
Mark Hominick, Kenny Florian, Chad Mendes, like all in their prime. Frankie Edgar, Korean Zombie when he was good, like when he was young and hungry and dangerous. Not Korean Zombie that Volkanovski fought. Ricardo Lamas when he was in 2014, Ricardo Lamas, 2014, Chad Mendes, 2016, Frankie Edgar.
I have him as the second greatest ever. It's not like I just like
talking about how Yair is like a meh win.
No, Yair's a really good win, and that was his prime.
It is a good win, but we also but he hasn't looked great in performances against Pitbull. You know, like he won on Saturday, but I didn't go, oh my God, Yair is like, he's not beating guys the way Max Holloway was, you know, which is why Max is such an amazing win because of what he did to Brian Ortega and Calvin Kattar. And
that's another one. Volkanovski defeated Brian Ortega, I think, in his prime too. That's another one.
Yes, it hasn't aged super well, but I don't want to say it hasn't. Let's be honest, because age-wise, Brian Ortega should still be in his prime, right?
They're both amazing.
Just smiling and laughing.
Yeah, you guys are just going back and forth on this argument. I'm just like,
I'm sorry. Where are you on this? And it's a fun debate. I love Jose Aldo. I don't want to ever speak ill of that man's name. He's a freaking living legend. Love that man. But one is one and one is, I think, two. G, where do you see Volk and Aldo for you?
I guess the only, I don't know. I feel like Aldo might have had a greater reign, but I think Volk might, just because of the time of the fighting, like the sport evolved so much in the time that Volk became champion, where I'm like, he just was a better fighter as a champion. And I feel like I don't know, like the max wins and three max wins. Yeah.
3 max wins.
Wait, no, don't get me wrong.
Like,
devil's advocate.
That's a great answer, G.
How many guys from Jose Aldo's era could you take with their skill from that time, put it into today's era of MMA, like you said, that has evolved so much, and they still dominate people? I think if you took prime Aldo with his 2014, 2016 level skills and stuck him, he's young, he's healthy, he's hungry, just threw that version of Aldo into today's division, I think he's just as competitive as he was then. And I don't think that's true of a lot of the other guys that we call the greats of the sport, you know? Right. I don't think prime GSP, if he came up in our time, he would have different skill sets. I don't think you could take that GSP and put him in with Usman in Usman's prime and him do as well, personally.
It's a very fun debate. Two of the greatest of all time. I think Elle is brilliant and smart. So
and wrong, which is
here's a great comment. Goes, I think Gillian's going to call out Lamoche after she beats Marina. Any truth to that?
Oh, we're not going to talk about that.
Wow! Hey,
wow. True.
I like that.
That's what every time Dave. Anytime I say I won't talk about something, Dave says that's true. So that means it's true.
It might be.
See, it might be Dakota Ditcheva just hanging around at all the UFC shows. That's all I know. It's so funny. She's a free agent, and she was in London, and then all of a sudden the UFC a couple weeks later is in Miami? How did that happen?
She's a free agent. She's not a free agent.
The UFC took their show to Miami specifically for Dakota.
And then she was still in London during the Miami show, but they were there for her.
What a great comment this is by our guy, Dean Toole. Imagine if Aldo also fought 135 his whole career. That's insane.
He's got my back.
Yeah. No, dude, Jose's a living legend. That guy is literally a living.
I'm such a big Aldo. I probably have a really strong, and I love Alexander Volkanovski.
How can you not?
Nothing away from his legacy. The max wins, all of it's incredible. I don't know what my bias is towards Jose Aldo. He's like the opposite fighter that I am. But I love him. I freaking love him.
Dean Toole, he's such a great man, brother. I feel bad. The last interview, I saw him with Nina talking about how he can't remember things anymore. It just shows how much he put into the sport.
It is sad.
Yeah.
Is he talking about Aldo?
I think so.
How does Aldo stay that shredded? How is he not aged?
I know he hasn't aged. It's funny. I think out of any weight class, that's the greatest 1-2 GOAT debate. And also, let's just be honest, some of the GOATs are not very fan friendly, or one is like very loved and one is kind of like hated almost as a bad guy. Volkanovski and Aldo, you can argue, are the two most beloved fighters of all time. And they're like in the same, it's amazing. And it's
the same. That's why the argument's so fun.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
Like, as much as I'm arguing with you about this, it really is like right here. Like they're right there.
But I guess imagine if they fought each other. That would have been crazy to see. Oh, they did.
You mean in both their primes?
I got it.
And we've established Jose as a bantamweight. Always should have been a bantamweight.
Last thing for G, we'll let you run. We know we got a couple weeks left to Iowa. You're probably flying on a plane in 13 days, 14 days?
Something like that. Yeah, we're 3 weeks out, so
insane.
Yeah, probably about 2 weeks. So I'm out there in Iowa.
How pumped are you to be fighting in wrestling country?
I'm just super excited to be out there. I'm super excited to be in front of a crowd, not to be at the Apex. And yeah, that's about it. I'm just excited to not be at the Apex more than anything else. I'm like,
you drive down and look at all the corn.
Yeah, I've heard that's pretty much most of what I've heard that people have told me about Iowa. But yeah, that means that there's nothing to do out there. So they're going to come watch fights and there's going to be good energy in the building. And the fights are stacked. The card is stacked top to bottom. And like literally, I thought I was going to be on the main card. I'm like the third fight on the prelims because there is so many good fights on it.
I saw that, G. I literally was bringing up the card. I was shocked. And I'm just like, it's you and Marina. Like Marina's fought. She was like in the number one contendership type of fight a couple of times. Like
she's had a couple of main events.
Yeah. Nice. Like,
I mean, you're going to be done early at least?
Oh yeah, that's the best part about it. No matter what, is you get out of there early. Like there's nothing better than going in fighting and coming out and it's still light outside. You're just like, oh, I have the whole day to still go do whatever. And on the opposite end, when I fought in Abu Dhabi, there's nothing weirder than getting out of there at like 4 a.m. and being like, I just fought. Like,
there's no restaurants open.
Yeah. Well, we were it was COVID, so it was Fight Island then. So it was okay, but it was still just like, it's like early morning, dark. And you're like, what do I even do with myself at this point?
That's crazy. Who's going out with you, G? Who's like your corner team?
I'm going to have my Dean, obviously. Dean's always with me. Roy Echeverria and my coach Mango, my boxing coach.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it. All right. Well,
after
maybe I'll get the invite on the next one. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about old Dave. All right. Just But when we fight for the title, I know Lamoche will be next, and then Verna will upset Wei Lee. So it's you and Verna. Spring of 2026 in Las Vegas, maybe in Miami, maybe a co-main event, UFC 328.
It depends where Dakota is, though.
Good boy. Well, I don't care about Dakota Ditcheva. I care about Gillian the Savage Robertson. Don't quote me on that one, please. But G, we can't wait. I would assume maybe one last week next week, and then after that, of course, we won't bother you on travel day and flying day. We hope to talk to you after your win, kind of that Fight Bananas ritual post-fight win interview. But we appreciate you, G.
Of course. It's always good to talk to you guys.
Later. Gillian the Savage Robertson, UFC Iowa, a couple weeks away. We'll see you soon. Later, G. The best.
Only a couple weeks. I wonder if we're going to do a Easter Sunday morning brew next week. I'll have to text her. We'll see.
Oh, yeah. And there's no fight, so maybe it is a great week to.
Yeah, that's true.
Dude, show Jesus some love, Elle, okay? Just trying to take it easy.
It's Jesus' day. We'll
skip
that Sunday. Sorry we didn't do one this Sunday. The Dawson brunch did not happen. We drove home and went back to bed. So this is why we need to do watch parties down here.
Elle, the girls woke me up. I was up at 7:50 a.m. We got up. We did breakfast. I know they were loud at one time. Grant went up, went to the bathroom. And I was like, Grant, I'm going to church. The whole family's going to church. We'll see you later. It was.
And he probably
I don't know how I do it now.
We're talking to you.
Huh?
I said he probably didn't even remember that interaction. Yeah. I was out. I was passed out.
Dude, that bed's great, right? Am I right?
It's a good
I love that. It's my favorite bed in the house. I love it. My 8-year-old son, Dylan, best bed in the house.
It's a solid bed, I got to admit. No, I did feel bad that we had to leave without saying bye to take
the girls were so upset, dude. They cried.
Yeah, no, Susie FaceTimed me and Taylor was crying, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I had to leave. Where did you go?
This is why I say all the time, guys, I don't care how you treat me. I hope I get respect. I will give you the same. All I care about is if you treat my kids good. If you treat my kids good, you're good in my book. So crazy life. All right, guys. Real quick, kind of show wise, Muhammad Mokaev couldn't make it. He's in not even like a European country. I heard he's in a fifth world country. He messaged us. He apologized. I think he's coming back next week. He'll be on the show. The Wi-Fi says there is none. There's just no Wi-Fi. He can't do anything. So that's that. And now I think we want to wrap it up soon, right? PFL is this weekend. Elle Dawson will be in Orlando, Florida for Media Day, weigh-ins, and the fights itself on Friday. Myself, I'm going to Island Fights. Island Fights 88 is this Friday from Pensacola Bay Center. PG, Pearl Gonzalez, and myself will be on commentary. Go to islandfights.com. I can't wait. I think it's like one of the most – I heard there's 17 or 18 fights. So it's going to be one of those all-nighters. It's going to be a good one. Going to be a long one. But I'm excited.
Some of them will be amateur though, right? So they'll be shorter.
Well, this whole show is actually an amateur show. The whole show is. Yeah. Nice. They'll be back.
That makes sense then because the amateur fights are quite a bit shorter.
Sometimes you will see some of the craziest knockouts ever in amateur. Just it happens that way.
And the level too. Like guys, I was so impressed just watching some of these amateurs fight on Island Fights, the level of matchmaking and just the level that these kids are, like some really amazing young talent. And some of the best fights I've seen live were amateur Island Fights fights. So definitely you guys should absolutely tune in. Is it free, Dave, or is it a pay-per-view?
Oh, it's a pay-per-view. Nothing's free in this world except for Fight Bananas. All you got to do is sub the YouTube channel, guys. Fight Bananas Official will be coming back. I think we're going to try to put out something later in the week, but like I said, I'll be at Island Fights. Elle will be at PFL. We'll be post-fight interviews, ton of stuff. So it's going to be a big week, but I think we're out. Elle, I think we're done. I think we did it. Tied a bow and everything.
Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Can you say something very inspiring, though? Hey, Jesus is rising on Sunday. Can you say something very nice?
Jesus has risen. You know what? Yes. Right. Yeah. Or happy early Easter Sunday. Go to church on Sunday, guys. Give Jesus some love. But there's no UFC fights this weekend. So tune in for PFL. Tune in for Island Fights. We still have amazing content coming your way, even with no UFC. So